This screencast is to help you to understand some of the information that came from Chapter 3, From Requirements to Algorithms. The first item is the word pseudocode, which you can find in your book on page 59. Pseudocode is what you're using when you create an algorithm. It's not really English and it's not really code. It's something in between. It's used for you, the person creating the code, to help explain to your customer, the person you're writing the code for, what it is that you're going to do with the code when it's written. Another term that's in the chapter that you need to understand is variables. Variables is talked about on page 61. A variable is just a place or a space in memory that is set aside to store information that will be needed later. You need to understand the naming conventions for variables. This is also discussed on page 61 towards the bottom of the page. Technically, using underscores in your words is correct, but don't do it for this class. You need to use the Camelback notation for all names in this course. Camelback notation, as it is described at the bottom of page 61, is where the first letter is always lowercase, and the second word and each word after that is going to be uppercase, and there'll be no blank spaces. For instance, the words Peggy Grotberg would be Peggy with a lowercase p and Grotberg with a capital G with no space in between the two words. That would be an appropriate Camelback notation for those words. Another thing that you need to know about is an assignment operator or assignment operations. They're discussed on page 62 in your book. The assignment operator for PHP is generally an equal sign, and that's considered assignment operations. Take the result of the expression on the right and it assigns it to the variable that's on the left. For instance, in this example, weekly pay equals hourly wage times number of hours worked. You would take however many hours you worked, multiply it times the hourly wage. Whatever the result of that math calculation was will be assigned to a space in memory that's called weekly pay. That's what the assignment operator does. You take what's here on the right side and assign it to the space in memory being held by what's here on the left side. When doing HTML algorithms, which it describes on page 63 with the smoking application, you should look for the words should ask the user for. Whenever it says you should ask the user for, that means you're going to need a prompt. You're going to have to prompt for and get and submit. If you're looking at the picture on page 63, the prompt for in figure 3-3 is on the left hand side where it says what is your first name. That is a prompt. The get statement talks about the text box right next to it where he's typed in the word Chris. Creating a text box is a way to get information. So you prompt for the first name and then you get it when they type it in. And to submit it to PHP, you do that with the button at the bottom that says tell me the bad news. That's called a submit button. So when you click on the submit button, it submits the information to the PHP form. Everything you prompted for and everything you get is what gets submitted. When you go to your PHP algorithm, you want to look for the words should calculate, process, or display. All of those are things that are done in PHP. So if you read those words that you should calculate, process, or display something, you know that information goes in your PHP part of your program. The first line in PHP is always to receive. You're going to receive from HTML whatever they submitted. From what you've received, you can then calculate or process all the information, and then the last thing you're going to do is display it back to an HTML form for your user to see. You need to remember that this class is not just about writing the programs. It's also about the logic, which is what the algorithm is meant to convey. The logic is the order that things have to be done in. hope this helps to explain some of these terms.